Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the planet below. The blue and green world turned slowly in space, covered with strange crystal cities that caught the light from two yellow suns. This was Kepler 442b, home to the Zephyrians. Soon it would be another human mining world. Elena touched the control panel in front of her. Numbers and pictures appeared in the air, showing her everything about the planet. The Zephyrians lived in crystal towers that grew from the ground like trees. They were made of living rock and metal, and they talked to each other through songs that humans could barely hear. The songs traveled through the ground and up into space, making the whole planet hum with their voices. "Captain, the mining ships are ready," said Commander Torres from behind her. He was a big man with scars on his face from the war with the Centauri 20 years ago. The Zephyrians have moved all their people away from the mining sites. They are not fighting us, Elena nodded. The Zephyrians never fought. None of the alien races did anymore. They just moved away when humans came. Some people said this made humans the natural rulers of the galaxy. Elena sometimes wondered if it meant something else, but she pushed those thoughts away. She had orders to follow. "Begin mining operations," she said. The words felt heavy in her mouth. Down on the planet's surface, huge machines started digging into the sacred moon of the Zephyrians. The moon was small and silver, covered with crystal formations that the aliens had built over thousands of years. Each crystal held the memories and songs of their ancestors. Now human machines broke them apart to get at the rare metals inside. Elena watched through the ship's cameras as the first crystal monument shattered. The sound traveled through space as a long, sad note that made her think of crying. All across the planet, the Zephyrian songs grew quieter. They were not angry songs or fighting songs. They were songs of sadness and loss. "The first shipment of metals will be ready in 3 days," Torres reported. "Earth Command will be pleased. These metals will help us build 10 more ships like this one." Elena looked around the bridge of the Indomitable. It was the most powerful warship humans had ever built. Its weapons could destroy a moon. Its shields could stop any attack the aliens might try. But the aliens did not attack. They just sang their sad songs and moved deeper into their crystal caves. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Most of them were young people who had grown up during humanity's golden age. They had never known a time when humans were not the strongest race in the galaxy. To them, this was normal. Humans took what they needed, and aliens moved out of the way. Lieutenant Sarah Kim looked up from her station. "Captain, I am getting strange readings from the planet's core. The Zephyrian songs are changing. They sound different now," Elena frowned. "Different how? The computer cannot figure it out?" "The songs are more complex now, like they are talking about something new. Something they have never talked about before." Torres laughed. "Maybe they are singing about how great humans are. Maybe they finally understand that we are the future of this galaxy." Elena did not laugh. She had been in space for 15 years since she was 22 years old. She had seen humans take over 47 star systems. Every time the aliens moved away without fighting. Every time they left behind empty cities and silent worlds. She had started to notice patterns that made her uncomfortable. The door, too. The bridge opened, and Admiral Chun Zhang walked in. He was the commander of the entire Fifth Fleet and one of the most important people in human space. His uniform was covered with medals from all the worlds humans had conquered. His face was hard and serious, like a man who had never doubted himself. "Captain Vasquez," he said, "Earth Command is very happy with your work here. The metals from this moon will help us build the largest fleet in human history. Soon we will move into the Vega sector and bring 10 more worlds under human control." Elena saluted. "Thank you, Admiral. The Zephyrians have been cooperative. They moved away from all the mining sites without any trouble." "Good, that is what I like to hear." Admiral Chun walked to the main window and looked down at the planet. "Do you know what makes humans special, Captain?" "Sir, we take what we need. Other races sit in their cities and sing songs or grow plants or study stars. They waste time with art and philosophy. But humans understand that the universe belongs to the strong. We are the strong, therefore the universe belongs to us. Elena nodded, but she felt something cold in her stomach. What about the other races, sir? The ones that are moving away from us? Admiral Chun shrugged. They can move wherever they want. The galaxy is big. There is room for everyone. But the best worlds, the worlds with the resources we need, those belong to us now. That is the natural order of things. Through the ship's speakers, the Zephyrian songs continued. They seemed to be getting more complex by the hour, with new voices joining from deep underground. Elena had heard that some scientists thought the Zephyrians were not just individuals, but part of a group mind that connected across their whole planet. If that was true, then right now the entire species was thinking together about what humans were doing to their sacred moon. Sir, Elena said carefully, what if the aliens are planning something? What if they are not as helpless as they seem? Admiral Chun turned to look at her with sharp eyes. Captain, are you questioning human superiority? No, sir. I just think we should be careful. We do not understand these aliens very well. Maybe there is a reason they do not fight us. The reason is simple, Admiral Chun said. They cannot fight. Yes, we are better than they are in every way that matters. Our ships are faster. Our weapons are stronger. Our minds are sharper. They know this, so they move away. It is the smart thing for them to do. Elena wanted to say more, but she knew it was useless. Admiral Chun represented everything humans had become in the past 200 years. Confident, powerful, and sure that they were destined to rule the galaxy. Most humans thought the same way. They had won so many victories that they could not imagine losing. Continue the mining operations, Admiral Chun ordered. Strip that moon completely. I want every gram of metal from it. When we are done, the Zephyrians will understand even better that humans take what we need. Yes, sir, Elena said as Admiral Chun left the bridge. Elena looked back at the planet below. The Zephyrian songs were still changing, becoming something she had never heard before. They were still sad, but there was something else in them now, something that sounded almost like planning. Lieutenant Kim spoke quietly from her station. Captain, I am picking up similar song patterns from other Zephyrian worlds. Worlds that are hundreds of light years away. They are all singing the same new songs. Elena felt the cold feeling in her stomach grow stronger. If the Zephyrians could communicate across space, if they were all connected somehow, then what humans were doing here was being felt by their entire species across the galaxy. But Admiral Chun was right about one thing. The Zephyrians were not fighting. They were just singing. The question that worried Elena was simple. What were they singing about? Dr. Sarah Okafor stared at the numbers on her computer screen and rubbed her tired eyes. She had been working in her lab on the space station Prometheus for 18 hours straight, trying to understand what was happening to the galaxy. The numbers did not make sense, but they were real. 43 alien species had stopped talking to humans in the past 6 months. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, like they had all decided something together without telling anyone what it was. Sarah was a xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien life forms. She had spent her whole career learning about the strange and wonderful creatures that lived on thousands of worlds across the galaxy. She loved her work because every alien species was like a puzzle that needed to be solved. But now the puzzle was getting scary. Her computer beeped and a new message appeared. It was from Dr. Martinez on the research station near Proxima Centauri. Sarah opened it quickly, hoping for good news. Sarah, the message read. The hive mind stopped answering. Our calls yesterday, all of them. Every single insect colony in this system has gone completely silent. Their cities are still active, but they will not respond to any communication attempts. It is like we do not exist anymore. What is going on out there? Sarah added Dr. Martinez's report to her growing file of similar incidents. The Andromedans had been the first to stop talking. They were humanity's oldest friends among the stars. the first alien race to welcome humans into the galactic community. 3 months ago, their ambassadors had quietly packed up their things and left Earth, without explanation. When human diplomats tried to contact them, they received polite but cold messages saying that the Andromedans were reassessing their galactic relationships. Next came the Centauri Collective. They had been trading partners with humans for over a century, sending rare crystals and receiving human-made computers and medicines. Last month, they had simply let all their trade agreements expire without trying to renew them. Human merchants who traveled to Centauri space found empty trading posts and closed markets. Sarah pulled up a map of the galaxy on her wall screen. She marked every star system where aliens had stopped communicating with humans. The pattern looked like a disease spreading outward from Earth, except it was not humans getting sick. It was humans being avoided. The door to her lab opened and her assistant Tom walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. Tom was young and enthusiastic, fresh out of university with big dreams about discovering new forms of life. Looking at him reminded Sarah of herself 20 years ago, when she still believed that humans and aliens could be friends forever. "Any luck figuring out what is happening?" Tom asked, handing her a cup. Sarah took a sip of coffee and shook her head. "It is like they are all following the same plan, but I cannot figure out what the plan is. They are not declaring war. They are not making demands. They are just ... leaving us alone. Maybe they finally realize that humans are the dominant species," Tom suggested. "Maybe they decided to focus on their own worlds and let us focus on ours." Sarah looked at Tom with sad eyes. He sounded like most humans these days, confident that being avoided meant being respected. "Tom, when animals in the wild start avoiding a predator, it usually means they are planning something. They do not just give up and hide forever." Tom frowned. "But we are not predators. We are explorers and traders and diplomats. Are we?" Sarah asked. She pulled up files on her computer showing human activities over the past 50 years. "Look at this data. In the last 5 decades, humans have established colonies on 847 worlds. Of those, 623 were already inhabited by other species. In every case, the aliens moved away to make room for us. Because we negotiated with them," Tom said. "We offered them technology and protection in exchange for land and resources. Did we?" Sarah asked. "Or did we just take what we wanted and assume they agreed because they did not fight us?" Tom looked uncomfortable. "Dr. Okafor, you sound like you think humans are the bad guys?" Sarah did not answer immediately. She was thinking about a conversation she had with an Andromedan scientist 5 years ago. The scientist, whose name was something like a musical note that humans could not pronounce, had said something strange. "Your species has great potential," the Andromedan had said, "but you think like hunters, not like gardeners. A hunter takes what he needs and moves on. A gardener tends to what he has and helps it grow. The galaxy needs gardeners, not hunters." At the time, Sarah had thought it was just a philosophical difference between species. Now she wondered if it had been a warning. Her computer beeped again. This time it was a priority message from Marcus Webb, the colonial administrator on New Babylon. Sarah had worked with Marcus several times, helping him establish relationships with the native species on his world. He was a good man who genuinely tried to cooperate with aliens instead of just pushing them around. Sarah opened the message and immediately felt worried. Marcus looked exhausted and frightened in the video recording. "Sarah, I need your help," Marcus said in the recording. "Something terrible is happening on New Babylon. The Verdani are gone, all of them. They just disappeared 3 days ago, and now the ecosystem is collapsing." Sarah knew the Verdani well. They were plant-like beings who could talk to other plants and help them grow. They had worked with human colonists for 30 years, teaching them how to farm in New Babylon's strange soil. The human colony depended on them for food production. "The crops are dying," Marcus continued in his message. "Not just the human crops, but all the native plants too. It is like the Verdani took some essential knowledge with them when they left. I have sent requests for help to Earth, but all I get back are form letters telling me that colonial growing pains are normal and expected. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She had studied the Verdani for years, and she knew they were connected to every plant on their world through underground root networks. If they had all left at the same time, they must have decided together that staying with humans was dangerous. She started typing a response to Marcus, but another message appeared before she could finish. This one was from Captain Rodriguez on the survey ship Explorer. He was investigating strange readings in the Tau Ceti system. "Dr. Okafor," Captain Rodriguez's message began, "I am sending you some data that makes no sense. We detected massive energy signatures leaving the Tau Ceti system yesterday. The signatures match alien ship designs, but the energy readings are impossible. It looks like they somehow opened doorways in space itself." Sarah opened the attached files and stared at the readings. Captain Rodriguez was right. The energy signatures were impossible according to human science. But there they were, recorded by multiple sensors on different ships. Something had torn holes in space near Tau Ceti, and alien ships had flown through them. Tom looked over her shoulder at the data. What could create energy signatures like that? "I do not know," Sarah said quietly. "But whatever it is, humans do not have that technology." She sat back in her chair and tried to think. 43 species had stopped communicating with humans. The Verdani had abandoned a world they had lived on for thousands of years. And now someone was using impossible technology to move ships through space in ways humans had never seen before. Sarah pulled up her secure communication system and started typing a message to every xenobiologist she knew. If aliens across the galaxy were coordinating their actions, then human scientists needed to coordinate too. They needed to figure out what was happening before it was too late. But as she typed, Sarah had a terrible feeling that it might already be too late. If alien species that had evolved on different worlds, with different biologies and different ways of thinking, were all making the same decisions at the same time, then they must have been planning this for years. Maybe decades. The question was not what they were planning to do. The question was what humans had done to make them plan it. Sarah looked at Tom, who was still staring at the impossible energy readings. He looked like a young man who was just starting to understand that the world was more complicated and dangerous than he had thought. "Tom," she said gently, "I want you to start going through all our files on human-alien interactions over the past century. Look for patterns. Look for things that might have seemed normal to us, but strange to them. What kind of things? Everything. How we negotiate, how we establish colonies, how we treat their sacred sites and cultural artifacts, how we talk about them when we think they are not listening." Sarah paused and looked out at the stars through her lab window. "I think we may have been sending the wrong message to our alien neighbors, and now they are sending a message back." Admiral Elena Vasquez stood in the command center of the space station Deep Watch and stared at a map of the galaxy that made her sick to her stomach. Red dots marked every star system where aliens had stopped responding to human communications. 3 years ago, there had been dozens of red dots. Now there were thousands. "Show me the Rigel sector again," she ordered Lieutenant Commander Park, her new intelligence officer. The map zoomed in on a cluster of star systems that had been bustling with trade and communication just 6 months ago. Now they showed as solid red, completely silent. No responses to radio calls, no ships leaving or entering the systems, no activity on the communication networks that connected all the civilized worlds. "When did we lose contact with Rigel Prime?" Elena asked. 47 days ago, Park replied. "The last message we received was a routine weather report from their orbital station. After that, nothing." Elena rubbed her temples, trying to fight off a headache that had been building for weeks. She had been promoted to admiral after her success at Kepler 442, but her new job was turning into a nightmare. Every day brought reports of more alien species going silent. More trade routes shutting down, more empty space where there used to be busy civilizations. "Admiral," Park continued, "we have also lost contact with the quantum web maintenance stations in 17 sectors. The aliens who used to maintain those stations have all disappeared. The quantum web was the galaxy's main communication system, a network of special stations that let people send messages faster than light across thousands of star systems. It had been built and maintained by a partnership of 12 different alien species, each contributing their unique knowledge and technology. Humans had been invited to join the network 50 years ago, but they had never learned how to build or repair the stations themselves. How long before the web starts breaking? Down? Elena asked. Our engineers estimate 6 months to a year, Park said quietly. Without the alien maintenance crews, the stations will start failing one by one. Eventually, we will lose the ability to communicate across long distances. Elena closed her eyes and tried to imagine what that would mean. Human space covered over 800 star systems. Without the quantum web, it would take years for messages to travel between Earth and the outer colonies. The human empire would fall apart simply because its different parts could not talk to each other. Admiral, said Captain Martinez from the communications station, we are receiving a priority message from the task force you sent to investigate the Rigel sector. Elena's eyes snapped open. Put it through. The main screen flickered and the face of Captain Sarah Chun appeared. She looked tired and confused, like someone who had seen something that did not make sense. Admiral Vasquez, Captain Chun said, we have completed our investigation of the Rigel system. The situation is ... unusual. Report, Captain. The planets are still inhabited, Admiral, all of them. The Rigelians are still there, going about their daily lives. Their cities are active, their farms are producing food, their factories are running, but they will not acknowledge our presence in any way. Elena frowned. Explain. Captain Chun looked uncomfortable. We sent landing parties to 3 different worlds. The Rigelians can see us clearly. They step out of our way when we walk down their streets. They move around us when we enter their buildings. But they will not speak to us, will not look directly at us, will not respond to any attempts at communication. It is like they have decided we do not exist. Did you try forcing them to respond? We tried everything short of violence. Admiral. We blocked their paths, stood in front of their vehicles, even had one of our linguists shout at them in their own language. They just walk around us like we are invisible obstacles. If we get too close, they move away, but they never acknowledge that we are intelligent beings trying to communicate. Elena felt a cold fear growing in her chest. What about their technology, their communication systems? Still working perfectly, Admiral. They are talking to each other constantly through their bioneural networks. But when we try to access those networks, we get nothing, complete silence. The screen flickered and Captain Chun was replaced by footage from the landing parties. Elena watched human Marines walking through a Rigelian city while the alien inhabitants went about their business as if the Marines were not there. Children played in parks while armed humans stood just a few meters away. Adults worked in shops and offices, carefully moving around the human visitors without ever looking at them directly. It was one of the most disturbing things Elena had ever seen. The Rigelians were not hiding from humans or running away from them. They were treating humans like they were part of the natural environment, something to be aware of and avoided, but not something to communicate with. Captain Chun, Elena said, are you certain they can see you? Absolutely, Admiral. Watch this. The footage switched to a recording from Chun's helmet camera. She was standing in the middle of a busy street and Elena could see dozens of Rigelians walking around her in careful patterns, never bumping into her but never acknowledging her presence. They know exactly where we are at all times. They just do not care that we are intelligent. Elena turned off the screen and walked to the observation deck of Deep Watch. Through the transparent walls, she could see the beautiful spiral arms of the galaxy stretching out in all directions. Somewhere out there, billions of alien beings were living their lives and deliberately ignoring the existence of humanity. Dr. Sarah Okoffer's voice came over the station's communication system. She had been working around the clock for months, trying to understand what was happening to human-alien relations. Admiral Vasquez, please report to Lab 7 immediately. I have found something you need to see. Elena made her way through the corridors of Deep Watch to Sarah's laboratory. She found the xenobiologist standing in front of a wall covered with charts, graphs, and star maps. Sarah looked like she had not slept in days, but her eyes were bright with the intensity of someone who had just made an important discovery. Sarah, please tell me you have good news. I am afraid not, Admiral, but I have answers. Sarah pointed to a complex diagram showing alien migration patterns over the past 5 years. I have been tracking the movement of alien populations across the galaxy. What I found is terrifying in its implications. Elena studied the diagram. It showed streams of ships moving away from human-controlled space, all heading in the same general direction, toward the edge of the galaxy. They are not just avoiding us, Sarah continued. They are leaving, all of them. Every major alien civilization is systematically evacuating their populations from the Milky Way galaxy. That is impossible, Elena said. Where would they go? How would they get there? Sarah pulled up another chart showing energy readings from deep space monitoring stations. Remember the impossible energy signatures that Captain Rodriguez detected near Tau Ceti? We have been tracking similar readings at the edge of the galaxy for 2 years. The aliens have developed some kind of faster-than-light travel technology that we do not understand. They are using it to travel to other galaxies. Elena stared at the data, trying to process what it meant. How many have left? Based on population estimates and ship tracking, approximately 60% of all alien beings in the galaxy have already departed. The rest are in various stages of preparation for departure. But why? Elena asked. Why would they abandon their homeworlds? Why would they leave an entire galaxy behind? Sarah was quiet for a moment, then pulled up one more chart. This one showed a timeline of human expansion compared to alien departure schedules. Admiral, I think they are not running away from us. I think they are quarantining us. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. What do you mean? Think about it from their perspective, Sarah said. Humans have been expanding aggressively for 2 centuries. Every time we enter a new system, the alien inhabitants move away rather than fight us. We assumed this meant we were superior, but what if it meant something else entirely? Such as? What if they recognize something about human nature that we do not recognize about ourselves? What if they realized that humans are not just another spacefaring species, but something fundamentally different? Something dangerous? Elena wanted to argue, but she could not find words. She thought about all the worlds humans had colonized, all the alien species that had quietly moved aside to make room for human expansion. She had always assumed it was because humans were stronger, smarter, more determined, but what if the aliens had simply decided that humans were not worth fighting? What if they had concluded that the best way to deal with humanity was to let humans have the Milky Way galaxy while they move somewhere else? Sarah, Elena said quietly, are you saying that every intelligent species in the galaxy has decided that humans are too dangerous to coexist with? Sarah nodded slowly. That is exactly what I am saying. And Admiral, if I am right, then we are about to be very alone. Dr. Sarah Okafor sat alone in the deepest archives of the Galactic Library on Earth, surrounded by files that had been classified for over 200 years. Her hands shook as she opened documents that revealed the terrible truth about humanity's place in the galaxy. It had taken her 6 months to get permission to access these files. Even then, she had only been allowed in because Admiral Vasquez had convinced the Earth Council that understanding the alien exodus was a matter of planetary security. Sarah wished she had never asked for this access. Some knowledge was too dangerous to possess. The first document she opened was labeled First Contact Psychological Assessment. Homo sapiens, classified level black. It was dated 2156, the year humans had made official contact with the Andromedan Commonwealth. Sarah had always been told that first contact had been a celebration, a moment when humanity joined the galactic community as equals. The truth was very different. The document contained detailed psychological evaluations of human behavior, written by alien scientists from 12 different species. They had been watching humanity for decades before making contact, studying human society, human wars, human expansion across the solar system. What they found had shocked them. Sarah read the words of Dr. Veltar, the lead Andromedan psychologist. The species designation, Homo sapiens, presents a unique challenge to galactic integration. Unlike all previously encountered intelligent species, humans have achieved spaceflight capability without evolving beyond their apex predator psychology. Every other known civilization has developed cooperative instincts that supersede individual aggression. Before achieving interstellar travel, humans have simply redirected their predatory behaviors toward technological and territorial expansion. Sarah felt sick as she read further. The Andromedans had identified patterns in human behavior that human scientists had never noticed. Humans did not negotiate, they presented demands and called them negotiations. Humans did not explore, they scouted for resources and territories to claim. Humans did not form alliances. They collected subordinate species that provided useful services. The report continued with observations from other species. The crystalline Zephyrians had noted that humans showed no emotional response to destroying sacred sites if those sites contained valuable materials. The plant-like Verdani had documented that humans consistently failed to understand the interconnected nature of ecosystems, treating planets as collections of separate resources rather than living systems. Most disturbing was the report from the Elder Council of Procyon, the galaxy's oldest and wisest civilization. Their psychologist, a being whose name was represented only by mathematical symbols, had written, Homo sapiens displays all the characteristics of a species that will eventually consume its environment and collapse. However, their technological advancement has given them the ability to move to new environments before collapse occurs. This makes them not just a threat to themselves, but to every ecosystem they encounter. They are apex predators on a galactic scale. Sarah found herself crying as she read the final conclusion of the Elder Council's report. We face an unprecedented challenge. Every intelligent species before humans has evolved past the need for external conflict before achieving the stars. Humans have brought their conflicts with them into space. They do not seek to join the galactic community, they seek to dominate it. The question is not whether they will eventually turn their predatory instincts on other intelligent species, but when. The next file Sarah opened contained something even more shocking, the transcript of a secret meeting between the leaders of all major galactic civilizations held just 3 years after first contact with humans. The meeting had been called to discuss what they called the human problem. Sarah read the words of Chancellor Morthok of the Centauri Collective. We have observed their expansion into 17 star systems in just 3 years. In every case, they have displaced the native inhabitants through what they call negotiation, but what we recognize as sophisticated intimidation. They offer protection from threats that do not exist, demand payment for services that were not requested, and gradually assume control of all major planetary resources. The Andromedan representative had responded, Our analysts believe that humans genuinely do not understand what they are doing. They have evolved to see all interactions as competitions that must be won. They cannot conceive of relationships that do not involve dominance hierarchies. When they say they want to be our friends, they mean they want us to accept them as our superiors. Sarah scrolled through pages of discussion about how to handle humanity. Some civilizations had suggested isolation, building barriers around human space and letting them expand only within those boundaries. Others had proposed direct confrontation, using superior technology, to force humans to change their behaviors, but it was the representative of the Elder Council who had proposed the solution that was eventually adopted. We have studied thousands of predatory species across the galaxy. History shows us that apex predators have 2 possible fates. They learn to control their instincts and evolve into something greater, or they consume their environment and destroy themselves. We cannot force humans to evolve. That must come from within. But we can ensure that when they face their inevitable choice, they face it alone. The plan that followed was brilliant in its simplicity and terrifying in its implications. The galactic civilizations would appear to accept human expansion while secretly preparing for a coordinated withdrawal. They would study human psychology and behavior for as long as necessary to understand exactly how the species would collapse. Then they would remove themselves from the equation and let humans face the consequences of their nature without dragging other civilizations down with them. Sarah found files detailing every aspect of the plan. The aliens had spent decades carefully managing their interactions with humans to encourage humanity's worst instincts. They had deliberately appeared weaker than they actually were, reinforcing human beliefs about their own superiority. They had provided just enough resistance to make humans feel like they were earning their victories, but never enough to make humans question whether those victories were worth winning. The most chilling part was how well the plan had worked. Every human leader who had expanded aggressively into alien space had been praised as a hero. Every human who had questioned the ethics of displacing alien civilizations had been dismissed as weak or naive. The aliens had not forced humans to become galactic predators. They had simply created conditions that encouraged humans to reveal their true nature. Sarah found the final piece of the puzzle in a message from the Elder Council, sent to all participating civilizations just 5 years ago. Phase 1 is complete. Humans now control 847 star systems and believe themselves to be the dominant species in the galaxy. They have demonstrated that they cannot coexist peacefully with other intelligent life. Phase 2 will begin when our evacuation preparations are complete. We will withdraw all alien presence from human space and allow them to face the ultimate test of any apex predator species. What do they do when there is nothing left to hunt? The message included a prediction that made Sarah's blood run cold. Our models indicate that humans will turn on each other within 5 years of complete alien withdrawal. Their economy depends on continuous expansion and resource acquisition. Their political systems require external threats to maintain unity. Their psychology demands constant victory over perceived competitors. When they realize they are alone in the galaxy, they will create the enemies they need from among themselves. The species that conquered 1,000 worlds will destroy itself fighting over the remnants. Sarah closed the files and sat in the silence of the archives. Everything made sense now. The alien exodus was not a retreat, it was a controlled experiment. Humanity was being quarantined, not because the aliens feared human strength, but because they pitied human weakness. She thought about Admiral Vasquez and the thousands of human military officers who believed they had won a galactic empire through superior tactics and determination. She thought about the politicians on Earth who spoke proudly of humanity's expansion across the stars. She thought about her assistant Tom, who still believed that humans were explorers and diplomats rather than conquerors. None of them knew that every human victory had been carefully orchestrated by alien psychologists who understood human nature better than humans understood themselves. None of them realized that the galaxy's greatest civilizations had looked at humanity and seen not a species to be defeated, but a species to be avoided until it destroyed itself. Sarah picked up her communication device and started to call Admiral Vasquez? Then she stopped. What could she say? That humanity's greatest triumph was actually its greatest failure? That the aliens had left not because they were weak, but because they were wise enough to recognize a doomed species when they saw one? She thought about the Elder Council's prediction. 5 years until humanity turned on itself. Given what Sarah knew about human politics and economics, that might even be optimistic. Sarah deleted her call to Admiral Vasquez and instead began typing a message that would be sent to deep space, far beyond human territory. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the last operational space station in Earth orbit and watched her homeworld burn. Below her, the great cities of humanity were lit not by electric lights but by the fires of civil war. The species that had conquered a galaxy was destroying itself in the ruins of its greatest. Triumph. It had been exactly 5 years since the last alien ship had departed the Milky Way galaxy. The Elder Council's prediction had been accurate down to the month. Elena touched the control panel beside her, and a hologram appeared showing the current state of human space. What had once been a proud empire of 847 star systems was now a scattered collection of warring territories. The corporate sectors fought against the colonial independence movement. The Religious Purity Alliance bombed the settlements of the Genetic Enhancement Coalition. Earth itself was split between 3 different governments, each claiming to be the true successor to the old Terran Council. "Admiral," came a voice from behind her. Elena turned to see Dr. Sarah Okafor walking slowly across the deck. Sarah looked older than her 60 years, worn down by the knowledge she carried and the horrors she had witnessed. "Sarah," Elena said quietly, "I did not expect to see you here. I thought you were on the research station at Jupiter." "Jupiter Station was destroyed 2 days ago," Sarah replied. "The Mars Defense Fleet decided it was being used to develop weapons for Earth. They were wrong, but that did not stop them from firing on it." She joined Elena at the observation window. 300 scientists died, including my assistant Tom. Elena closed her eyes. Tom had been young and enthusiastic, full of dreams about exploring the galaxy and making contact with new forms of life. Now there was no galaxy to explore and no alien life to contact. The young man had died fighting over the scraps of humanity's collapsed empire. "How many systems have we lost this week?" Elena asked. 14, Sarah answered. "The Centauri colonies declared independence and are now fighting each other over water rights. The Vega sector has split into 12 separate nations. Alpha Centauri has gone completely dark. We think they destroyed their own orbital facilities to prevent anyone else from claiming them." Elena nodded sadly. It was the same story everywhere. Without alien trading partners, the human economy had collapsed. Without external threats to unite against, human political systems had fractured along every possible line of division. Without new worlds to conquer, human ambition had turned inward and become human hatred. "The quantum web is finally dying," Elena said, pointing to dead communication nodes scattered across the galaxy map. "The last maintenance station failed yesterday. Soon we will not even be able to talk to the outer colonies." "Maybe that is for the best," Sarah said bitterly. "Most of the messages we get these days are declarations of war anyway." They stood in silence for a while, watching the destruction below. Elena thought about her career as a military officer, all the victories she had won, all the worlds she had helped bring under human control. She had been so proud of humanity's expansion across the galaxy. Now she understood that every victory had been a step toward this final defeat. "Sarah," Elena said finally, "do you think any of us suspected the truth? Did anyone realize what we were becoming?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Some did. There were always humans who questioned our methods, who worried about the ethics of displacing alien civilizations. But they were outnumbered by people who believed that might makes right. What happened to them? The ones who questioned? They were ignored, dismissed, or reassigned to positions where they could not influence policy. The system selected for leaders who believed in human superiority and against leaders who believed in cooperation." Sarah paused. "It selected for people like Admiral Chun." Elena remembered Admiral Chun Jiang, her former superior, who had been so confident about humanity's right to rule the galaxy. Chun had died 3 months ago when his own fleet mutinied and destroyed his flagship. Even in death, he had probably believed that humans were destined for greatness. "The aliens knew this would happen," Elena said. "They studied us for decades and predicted exactly how we would collapse." "Yes," Sarah agreed. "And the worst part is that they were trying to help us. They gave us every opportunity to prove we could evolve past our predatory instincts. But instead of learning to cooperate, we just found more sophisticated ways to compete." Elena's communication device chimed. She looked at the message and felt her heart sink even further. It was from General Morrison, the current leader of Earth's Western Defense Coalition. Admiral Vasquez, the message read. We have confirmed reports that the Eastern Continental Alliance is preparing to launch nuclear weapons against our cities. We are implementing the final defense protocol. All military personnel are ordered to return to their home regions immediately to help defend their families. The unified Earth government is officially dissolved. Elena showed the message to Sarah, who read it with the expression of someone who had expected such news for months. The final defense protocol, Sarah said. I helped design the psychological profiles for that plan 20 years ago. It was supposed to be used only if Earth faced invasion by a hostile alien force. Now we are using it against ourselves, Elena said. Sarah walked to another window that looked out toward the stars. Somewhere beyond those stars, alien civilizations were starting new lives in distant galaxies. They were building cities, raising families, creating art and music and literature. They were doing all the things that intelligent species did when they were not spending all their energy on conquest and competition. Elena, Sarah said, I need to tell you something. I sent a message into deep space 6 months ago. An apology to the aliens who left us behind. I wanted them to know that some humans understood what we had done wrong. Did you get a response? Yes. Sarah pulled out a small device and activated it. A hologram appeared showing text written in multiple alien languages. It came from the Elder Council, transmitted from beyond our galaxy. Elena read the translation. We acknowledge the message from Dr. Sarah Okafor of the species Homo sapiens. We are sorry that your people could not find a path beyond their nature. Your apology is accepted, and your message has been added to the galactic archives as evidence that even predatory species can produce individuals capable of wisdom and remorse. We hope that someday a future species will read your words and choose a different path. Elena felt tears running down her face. They pitied us. Even at the end, they pitied us. They saw us as we really were, Sarah said. A species with great potential that chose the wrong path. They gave us a whole galaxy to rule, hoping we would learn to rule it wisely. Instead, we turned it into a battlefield. The lights in the observation deck flickered as power systems throughout the station began failing. Below them, the war for Earth was intensifying. Nuclear fires bloomed on the continents like deadly flowers. The species that had reached for the stars was burning the world that had given them birth. Elena thought about the Zephyrians and their crystal cities, the Verdani and their living gardens, the Andromedans and their songs of peace. All of them were safe now, far away in distant galaxies where humans could never reach them. They would remember Earth as a cautionary tale, a world where intelligence had not been enough to overcome instinct. Sarah, Elena said, what do you think will happen to us? To the humans who survive this? Sarah looked out at the dying world below them. I think some will survive. Humans are very good at surviving, but we will be alone. Completely alone. And maybe, after enough time has passed, after enough generations have been born in the ruins of our empire, maybe they will learn to be something better than we were. Do you really believe that? I have to, Sarah said. Because the alternative is too terrible to accept. Elena nodded and activated her personal log recorder for the last time. She wanted to leave something behind, some record of what had happened. And why? This is Admiral Elena Vasquez, recording on Earth date October 5th, 10th, 2394. Today marks the end of humanity's galactic empire, and perhaps the end of human civilization as we know it. We reached for the stars and grasped them, but we never learned to hold them gently. We conquered a galaxy but could not conquer ourselves. She paused and looked out at the fires consuming her world. If anyone ever finds this recording, please remember that we were not always destroyers. Once, long ago, we were explorers and dreamers. We built beautiful things and created wonderful art. We loved our children and hoped for better futures. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that the greatest victory is learning when not to fight. Elena turned off the recorder and put her arm around Sarah's shoulders. Together, they watched the last days of the species that had owned the galaxy for one brief Shining, terrible moment. Above them, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the small tragedy playing out on the world below. And far beyond those stars, in galaxies that humans would never see, alien civilizations were already forgetting that humanity had ever existed at all. The galaxy was at peace again, and humanity was finally, utterly alone.